He built a small frame about 10 inches high off the ground, right where he wanted the walls of his house to be. Poured that concrete in, waited about 24 hours for it to solidify, and then he raises the frame, does it again. Raise the frame, does it again, raise the frame, does it again, raise the frame, does it again. So he gets this out. But Gabe watching this building go up in less than a month, and he wants that recipe. After all, Port and the other are those Islamic Moors, ladies and gentlemen, coming out of Northern Africa and from the Middle East. I've seen a Victorian auto stop number 10. But as I turn back onto King Street, take a look to the right at a few more points I want to show you about this building. Notice all the geometric shapes on the facade of the Villa Zareta. That is quintessential to that style of architecture, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you tell the difference between Victorian, for example, on the left, Henry Flagler's Hotel, and that Spanish or Renaissance. All those geometric shapes. Also, notice above the door there, you're going to see some Arabic writing. That Arabic does say, no God, yet Allah. Now, if you would have taken math in the United States subjects, that's all right for most of you. Okay, so hear that word again, and a correlation word I'm going to say right afterwards. Algebra. Now this one, Al Jazeera. Some of you already knew this. Some of you it's coming to you for the first time. That's great. But both algebra and geometry are both inventions of the Islamic people. So they're going to use it in their architecture back there at the Villa Zareta, just like Franklin Smith also does directly in front of you at the White Hotel, that Casablanca Hotel. That is also the Spanish or Renaissance style. To the left is the first of Henry Flagler's hotels, the Ponce de Leon, Victorian style. To the right is the Alcazar, his other one, also Victorian style. It is only Franklin Smith that is bringing that Islamic influence of Spain that is so very prevalent on that in that country.
Starbucks도 있네요. Starbucks.
And we certainly can't appreciate it for that. But this name for this hotel, this Casablanca name coming up on the left-hand side, is a very disrespectful name to that hotel. Very disrespectful. Casablanca? No way. But if you want to know what makes it disrespectful, you're going to have to stay on board a little while longer, because I'm not telling you right now. It's a hook. I'm hooking you. But ladies and gentlemen, if I do have any monikers on board that I believe before I come back to that story, let me just tell you, you do have a beautiful name. Unfortunately, it is disrespectful to that church, to that hotel. But anyway, inside this second hotel, Brentwood Plaza today is Otto Leitner's Museum of Victorian Art, where you're going to find everything inside, from taxidermy, lions, and tigers, and bears. Oh my! He's got it all inside right there to the left. It ultimately pulled most of the collection from the Met and brought it right down here. Most of the Met's collection was Otto Leitner's. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody else, take a look to the right. From this vantage point, you're going to see just how big that Ponce de Leon Hotel really is. It is a mecca. And ladies and gentlemen, it's huge. Huge. Bigger than any Ramada Inn I've ever stayed at, that's for sure. Any children, huge. But you don't just stay there for a week or a weekend. No, you do not. You stay there for an entire winter season, which is approximately October to May. You want to stay there, you pay the whole ticket price, $9,000. Which is equivalent to about 50 grand today. Only the richest people in the country can afford those prices. And those folks are mostly going to be your presidents, your senators. So 1890. It's not like we have much of a nightlife created for them at that time. Henry Flagler has to solve that problem now, and he does it with his second hotel here to the left, which is the Hotel Alcazar. And how bizarre this Hotel Alcazar really is. The entire first floor of this entire hotel that does span this entire city block is one big gambling hall. Clearly, Henry Flagler knows how to make those rich folks happy. But I could actually stay here as a commoner, because they did have the rates here be about $8 or $9 a night, which is equivalent to about. But if you look to the left, that rounded part of the building there, that's where Henry Flagler had his pool, largest indoor swimming pool of the age. On the other side, it shuts out the same way as well. That's the shallow end for the same pool. Above it, see those French windows up there? That's where an orchestra playing 24 hours a day as those folks floated in the pool. Yep, he had two orchestras actually. One would take a nap, the other would be playing. They switch on and off all day, all night. They've drained all the water now. You can have a meal there in the Cafe Alcazar and the center of that pool. But I don't know about you guys. If I don't have a heated pool that can be floating on my back at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, listening to a full orchestra above my head playing Vivaldi and Beethoven, I just can't relax. You know what I mean? Hey, I don't even know what I mean, but apparently that's what those rich folks really needed back then. None of these cars would have been here back in 1893 either. It would have been 4 asphalt-style tennis courts just for the men. Sorry, ladies, you weren't allowed to play because you weren't allowed to wear the uniform. They said it was a little too scandalous at that time. Well, you're going to say that. I'm going to do my homework on that one, and I did. Do you guys want to know what made those uniforms scandalous? Emancipation Proclamation, your president. About midway down Washington Street, see that
Welcome
green
to
balcony jutting out
Lincolnville.
there? That's where Ray Charles played his piano at a speakeasy from ages 13 to 17 years old. He was here in St. Augustine attending the Florida Deaf and Blind School, which is about a half mile north of the old jail, where many of y'all started the tour today. Stop number 1. But ladies and gentlemen, here to the left is the Accord Civil Rights Museum. Dr. Haley
Civil
Spence's
Rights
office.
Museum.
He was the founder of the Florida chapter of the NAACP. To the left again is Miss Cora Tyson's house. Wonderful woman. She's not home right now. Was a great friend of hers. He would stay at her property many times when he came through St. Augustine. But he would only stay one night at a time.
그 링컨빌은
Because there was a firebombing
흑인들,
in Ormond Beach about 30
흑인들이
miles south.
주로
Another one
거주하는
about 20 miles south on
지역입니다.
Crescent Beach. And 2 firebombings right here in St. Augustine. All of them were meant for Dr. Martin Luther King. So when he was in danger, so were his friends. So he'd hop around every night in church most Sunday morning. A wonderful woman, 102 years old. And later, Dr. King paid her the highest compliment, said that she had the best sweet tea this side of the Mississippi. And she loved the fact that we ultimately tell you guys a little bit about her time with Dr. King on this. I'll be back to you guys in just a minute.
Oh, look at this.
I had a chance to talk with many people, some of whom are considered
Dr.
some
Martin
of
Luther
the very
King Jr.
outstanding
블로바드를
leaders and people of our nation.
운전하면서 닥터 킹의
I
연설을
believe that I was
들어주고
uttering the truth when I said to them that the Negroes of St. Augustine, Florida, and those that have come in from other communities
세인 어거스틴에도 흑인들 인구가 어느 정도 거주했음을
are
설명해 주겠습니다.
determined to march
Catholic Church in the nation, first
There's
being over there in New
Catholic
Orleans.
Church, how about
To the left is St. Paul's AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church. This is the location that Dr. King delivered the speech you just heard, and this congregation was vital for getting that
Dr.
Civil Rights
Martin
Act passed.
King이
About 90%
연설한
of their membership
St. Paul
petitioned Congress multiple
Church입니다.
times.
St.
To
Paul
the right,
African
African-American
Methodist
schoolhouse, first
Episcopal
through 8th grade. I went to school right there to the age of Jim Crow, because one of those Jim Crow laws stated that white teachers weren't allowed to teach black children. They only got acquitted because that was considered a private school. To the left again is the corner market, where later today you get some
Corner
amazing
market.
peach cobbler and some beet relish to die for. But back in that time, it was kind of a speakeasy library for those African Americans. Ultimately, give a book, take a book type situation. Now, Lincolnville is closed. Lincolnville Museum, they're closed until later on this afternoon. Did anybody park in this area that needs to get off? Just staying in that piano where Ray
Lincolnville
Charles played.
Museum and
If you look
Cultural
up above
Center.
it, you'll notice what it was before it was this museum. It was actually the segregated before, one of only 2 streets in
Oh,
the
I have a
nation,
dream
named
house.
after Dr. King, that he actually walked down in protest. Now, my trivia question now is going to be one more, ladies and gentlemen, one more trivia question. See if you can figure this one out. What do you think the other town is that has the other Dr. Martin Luther King Avenue? He also walked down in protest. Yell out your guesses. Selma, good guess. Give me one more. Birmingham, great. The answer is Atlanta. Now, both of those are very possible. They could have been. But Atlanta is also the city of Dr. Martin Luther King's church, the only other city street in the nation named after him today. He walked down in protest back in this Gilded Age, Civil Rights era. Now, a park on the end of it. Take a look at that park. I'll tell you more about it in a minute.
제 앞에 할아버지 할머니들
Alright, that little courtyard there was
보기
called
좋네요.
Twine Park.
그
That's where Henry
앞에도
and Cat Twine had their home
커플이
originally.
있고요.
They were congregants here at the Bethel Missionary Baptist Church coming up on the
저도 저희
left-hand side.
가족들과
And
함께
they were the ones that were
여행하고 있습니다.
responsible for teaching the African American youth. We're talking about 13, 14, 15, 17-year-old children that went down to Woolworth Store on the plaza to protest and demand civil rights. So these kids are not ignorant. They're very well aware of the fact that they are disliked. Experience a practice round. Now, Martin Luther King, remember, he was running around this nation back then.
모던하고 이쁘네요.
Right over at Fish Camp Restaurant.
San
This will be my top
Fish
recommendation for you in St.
Camp
Augustine.
Restaurant.
Farm to table produce and fresh catch from the bay, from the Atlantic. Recommendation on Anastasia Island is going to have to be my family's place. The one we opened up in the early 60s called Saltwater Cowboys. Now, we don't own it anymore, ladies and gentlemen, but it is the same old Florida menu my uncle did ultimately make right there at Saltwater Cowboys. That's off Dawsonville, South St. Augustine Beach. To the left is the electrical facility established by Thomas Edison originally. Then it became an ice plant because a byproduct of electricity is distilled water. Distilled water happens to freeze exceptionally quickly, so they did turn it into an ice plant. That ice is the major reason we could become #1 for shrimp and top 10 for fish in the nation. Now we can ship it all over the nation, ladies and gentlemen. 50% of those shrimp boats were owned by black captains. They hired their own crews. Most of those crews came right here from Lincolnville. It was a top business building that black economy here in St. Augustine, and a top business employing African Americans right here. They also make it an old fashioned as well. That's
자, 여기 오시면은
made with that whiskey that ages
알코올 한
to perfection.
잔을
Those wine
5불에
barrels they use
마실 수
at the
있다고
San
하네요.
Sebastian Winery. If you're in the States, it entered the Union in
Cigar factory.
1845. The building itself is 1821. That's the year Florida became a territory entering here in the United States. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 90% of the workforce there at the Solicar Carva cigar making plant would have been women. Now, they had many buildings. That's just their last one standing. And that version of entertainment happened to be gossip. And it caused a few scandals there at the Solicar Carva. Some of those scandals became very violent. And so they started to hire men. But not to hand roll cigars. We've already established men are no good at that. The men's job, management. Their job was to quote-unquote edify the women. That's a heck of a phrase. Edify the women. Wow. What they meant by it was to read the newspaper to them in the morning, give them a little culture, let their minds be occupied. Never worked. The gossip continued. The violence continued. So they had to figure out some way to keep those minds occupied, those women entertained. So they started to jump on top of the tables and chairs at all of their different locations. Started singing and dancing. I'm talking about the men. In order to entertain those women, they were doing that, having a bachelorette party for those ladies every day of the week. Now, second largest employer, Solicar Carva, and they were partying every single day. Now, to the right is the administrative offices of the the largest employer in St. Johns County at the time,
St. Augustine 관련된 정부 청사들.
Florida East Coast Rail Company. Those were the administrative offices. Now they are the dormitories for flags. 17 different muscadine wines you must get tried while you're here in St. Augustine. That muscadine grape is native to St. Augustine, ladies and gentlemen. And they even have that muscadine grape juice you can have for the children. $5 tour here as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you find a wine you like, they'll even ship you a whole case wherever you're going. You'll also get a commemorative wine. Going down backwards like a ladder, this is our
Stop
winery.
13입니다. 와이너리.
You guys certainly are a loyal gentlemen.
재밌는 거는
Cutting Edge Hospital
폴리스테이션
doing great
있죠.
work here in the southeast United States, right there, Flagler Hospital.
그 좀
Now,
전에 그
some of you in the back of your
디스틸러리.
minds are wondering, why in the world did Henry Flagler now get into a
정말 웃기죠.
third